Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Larry Singh here with Canvas Real Estate. I'm the district manager for Canvas Real Estate Boca Raton. This is our weekly meeting to help agents and customers understand real estate a little bit better. This is your source for tapping into your real estate obsession. Today we have Jeneen. Jeneen is a really good friend of mine that has helped numerous business owners and individuals reach for their goals, understand their goals, and figure out ways to achieve their goals. I'm going to let Jeneen introduce herself a little bit further. Jeneen, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Larry. I so appreciate this invitation. It's nice to be with you in South Florida remotely. So this is great. It's the new normal, and I actually love it. So my name is Jeneen Masih, and I founded a company called JMM Consulting 6 years ago. I've been in leadership my whole life, nonprofit, for-profit. I've been in a startup. I was an entrepreneur. I've been in the hospitality industry, sales, law. So I found myself very well situated to be in a place where I can sit alongside leadership and support them in their visions for themselves based on what they want in their lives and how it's reflected in their businesses. So I've done everything from development work on the legal side to sales and to leadership within brokerages. So people are my passion. And I'm just excited to be with you here today. I should add that my own personal, most recent accomplishment that I am most proud of is my recent relocation to Alicante, Spain, where I'm now able to be yet in another time zone. I usually work with people across Eastern Mountain, Central Mountain, Pacific, and now I'm able to touch more people in Europe and on the African continent. So yeah, so it's a real pleasure to be with you here today. That's a little bit about me.
Jeneen, there's a lot of there's a lot that you just said. So, the main topic that we're going to talk about today is overcoming things that are overwhelming, right? In all aspects of our lives, especially in business, there are points that we feel overwhelmed that we can't do something, or we don't know how to do something, and it becomes debilitating to our function, right? We get so scared that we can't. A lot of the agents that I speak to, for example, what I've been working on with them lately is cold calling, right? Yeah. And that fear of rejection is so scary. It makes people just not want to do it at all. They'd rather sacrifice not getting the business just because they're so fearful, right? And you're a person that's uprooted her entire life and moved to a completely different country, right?
With a different language.
How many people did you know in Spain before you moved there?
Besides the real estate agent I was working with to get the apartment I'd never seen, zero. Yeah.
Right. So how does an individual person actually take and draw that strength to do something like that, but maybe even on a smaller scale, right? That's a huge scale, but
it's a huge scale. It's a great example of exactly what you're talking about in cold calling, because the cool thing is before anything else, when we look at ourselves, we're all people. So we're limited by our thoughts in anything that we do. So, and our emotions. So one emotion is fear. And that can be debilitating, which can lead to overwhelm. So I have spent a lot of time training my mind. That is a huge thing. Yes, I have skill sets that I've established. I mean, look, I'm older than a lot of people now. It's hard for me to believe. On the inside, I feel a certain way, but I look out there, I'm like, wow, sometimes I'm the oldest person in the room, which is fun too. But I think knowing that we're human, that absolutely everything everyone deals with, you, your agents, our children, whatever, that never goes away. How we manage it, you get better at it. So my goal is to be in mastery in that area. of my thoughts, of the activities that best serve me. So when I can increase my passion for something above my level of fear, that's how I'm able to do these things. So the cold call example is perfect for that, because it's not about making a cold call, but it's about what are we really doing when we're calling. First of all, I suggest from this moment forward that we change that term, because cold calling just triggers things in our mind that takes us to a bad place. So if you're in a hole and you say cold calling, now you're in a deeper hole. So right. I would rather just say, we're just going to meet people, right? Because you cannot sell something to somebody that they don't need or want. You can't, right? So sales, I have a little bit different approach, which is reflected in, excuse me, cold calling is, how do I connect with someone and get into relationship with them by one phone call so that I can understand who they are and what they need, just in general. If that's my goal, then I can focus on the conversation. That's not a scary call. Cold calling, that's pretty scary. There's a lot of heavy things associated with that we're taught aren't good. Being pushy, that salesperson. But support is something we like. So somebody who really is somebody who is authentic, cares, follows through. You're not a salesperson. You're a support person. So, categorizing what you're doing and why you're doing it. If you're doing it to convert calls to appointments to sales, it can be overwhelming. When you're doing it to better your life because you're increasing relationships, and you just know by sheer numbers, I don't even have to be tied to what comes from each call. I just need to relax and know that the more I do it, the better I like it. The more people I help, they're going to tell me how I can help them. I don't get to tell them, hey, guess what? You're moving today. I mean, it doesn't quite go like that. But almost everyone, when you connect in a way that resonates with them, will share something with you, even if they haven't planned on it. So that's a bit of my perspective.
So are you saying that it's first and foremost changing the mindset, right? Changing how you think of what it is, the activity that you're doing, right?
For sure. Yes.
Right. So let's stick with the cold calling, because this has been a big topic.
Perfect.
Over real estate for the last 150 years.
Forever. Yes. Since we had a phone.
Right. So let's definitely stick with that. And how can, see, the way I look at it is there are certain people that can face their fear and just kind of push through it, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And then there are certain people that need a little bit more assistance to get through that fear. It's all doable in the big scheme of things. It's just how it's accomplished, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, and I also think that one approach is sustainable and the other approach isn't. So yes, we can push through things, but that takes a lot of energy. So I suggest being attracted to something. Be really clear about don't do something for no reason. Why are you doing it and how are you showing up? Like focusing on yourself instead of someone else, it's a little bit more comfortable. So when I'm drawn to do something, it's different because I can get excited about it. I know saying, that word we're not using anymore. So maybe we're doing assessment calls or support calls or something. That way, I'm attracted to doing that because it's something I like to do. And it's not defined by personality types. People like to say, oh, you're outgoing. I'm not. I'm not good at that. And it's like, when people want to be heard, for somebody like me who's outgoing, someone like you who's outgoing, that's just our natural personality style. We tend to, we can talk with our hands, we can speak loudly, we can make jokes. For somebody who is more introverted and they're like, look, how am I heard within this group of people who are loud? And I'm like, speak softer. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh yeah, if you're with me or somebody was with you and I, and they sat there and they started talking at a lower level, you and I would shut up.
Yeah.
to hear them, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny, those techniques, it's finding your strength within who you are. It's not trying to be like anyone but who you are. So, that's a perspective I have when I'm looking at connecting.
So you touched on something, and I wanted to kind of elaborate on this, because I personally think it's the very essence of what we're talking about, right? And that's the why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah.
are we doing things? Why
Yeah.
why are we even in the position to try to overcome the overwhelming feeling that we're feeling, right?
Right.
What's the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of everything that we're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's always been one of the most important questions. Larry King said one time, he says, the most important question that you ask in an interview
Mm-hmm.
is why,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it gives
Mm-hmm.
you all the backstory, the information that you're looking for without being combative, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So if
Yeah.
you just ask that one word, why, right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
important do you think that really is when you're trying to overcome these feelings?
Yeah. Well, here's one thing. I'm going to say a couple of things that I think might surprise you, which that's not new, I'm sure. So, there's why in linear things, like why we want to do something. We talk about our big why, right? That's a very common topic. It's like, oh, my big thing, maybe I want to take care of my family better, or I want to do a big trip, or I want, there's bigger things that we tie to small things. It's very common. Recently, I've taken that in a little bit different direction,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I can get it to an easier place, right? Because we have big things that we focus on. I always look at it like, I have like a telescope that you go in and out. I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at what's small, I'm looking at what's big. What I've come to realize, to jumpstart this to a really faster progression, is I want to feel a certain way. So if you ask me why I do something, the only reason I do anything is to feel good. So I take that to every little piece. Now, that doesn't take the place of my dreaming, envisioning, and planning. Don't get me wrong. But to get mindset, right? Because that's what we're talking about in the moment, our mindset. I have to feel good. I cannot step in from being hot about something to getting on a prospecting call and expecting that I'm going to shift, I'm going to connect, and it's going to feel good. It's not reasonable. So taking that moment to get myself in a good mood, right? I deserve to be having fun all the time. That's at least what I believe. It's my personal belief. So getting there and getting in the mindset. So now I just focus on feeling good. To feel good is to connect with someone. When someone can hear us, when someone accepts us, just whether you're in the grocery store or in the office and you meet a colleague or whatever, that's normal. Our Forbes had declared in, I think it was 2016, that connection now is one of our major needs, right? Just like food, water, shelter. So when we understand that our ability to connect, the feeling we get, which today is very timely, right? When we've had this time of perceived separation or only connection through technology. So we know that's so strong. So I like to play on that. If I know I need connection, and I know I do because I feel better when I connect, then I focus on connection. So if I'm an agent and I still know, I'm not saying don't know your metrics. Those are all things you observe. But if you go into something based on, wow, that felt great. Wow, I did that. I did 2 extra calls today. Why'd you do it? Because it felt so good. Because I was on a roll, so now you're just focusing on something very controlled and small, so that when you show up in the moment, you are the best you, right? Like Larry, I know when you're on, because you have an infectious personality, you get people to laugh, even sometimes when you act firm, I don't know, I can kind of see through that. And it is, but it's a love. I've seen your agents with you. I see the response, and you found that place of being vulnerable with them,
Right.
And believable and authentic. And what does that do for your energy when you interact with your agents, whether through a workshop or a team call or something? How does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel great. And to me, it helps build the bond that I have with that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Relationships. So if somebody looks at a phone call, it's a mini relationship.
Right.
Right? For it could be a 5 minute and never talk to them again, but there could be value there. It could be you meet someone and, oh my gosh, I didn't know 20 years ago I was going to meet someone on a call that I would be doing all these things with.
So let me play devil's advocate a little bit, right?
Sure.
Well, Jeneen, that's all great, and I would love to make relationships, but it's so scary to make that call. How is there a process that you can share with us that helps people overcome that overwhelming feeling? Is there steps that you can take
Yes.
that can get people on the right track? Can you share with that?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we can talk big picture once you're on the phone and how you feel, and that's all great. But like getting up to that point,
right?
So we have to, in anything we do in life, right? If I every day had to, go out to the store to buy toothpaste and find my toothbrush and do all these things, I probably wouldn't brush my teeth as regularly as I should. I just wouldn't, right? But because it's right there, I know how to do it, I don't think about it, it becomes a habit. Right. So with calls, it's no different. There's different pieces of making a call. The call is the ultimate piece of a process. So the process is, I've got to get in a good mindset. That's a piece of it. I get in a good mindset when it's easy, just like brushing my teeth. I'm in a really good mindset when I know I love the flavor of the toothpaste. I know it's there. It's just the way I want it. Well, we have to feel that way with our other tasks, including outbound calls. So I need to know who I'm calling. That is not the time to think about who I'm calling. I also need to know the purpose of my call, right? And calls can be timely. I don't think they should be the same. I do think there is room for scripting. I really do, in a skill building sense. People say to me, oh my gosh, Jen, I just wish I could do it like you, because you don't use scripts. So it's great. I'm like, what do you mean I don't use scripts? Of course I use scripts.
That's the biggest misconception.
It's a big misconception. And that doesn't mean I'm not authentic. And it doesn't mean I don't leverage my scripts to problem solve or do an assessment. Mm-hmm. That's where people they're like, look, we've all had situations where we've experienced very poor salespeople. They make us feel uncomfortable. They don't make us feel valuable. Okay, they're not good at their job. They're not good with scripts. You don't have to know 100 scripts to make your first call, but you start somewhere. Maybe you know one or two, and you're going to do that call the best of your ability with those two. The more we do anything, you get good at riding a bike, mm-hmm. Because you ride a bike, not because you read about riding a bike. Right. So I think that getting all the pieces, number one, get your pieces in place. When am I going to do it? When am I best? When is it comfortable? Choose when. It may be chosen for you in a team concept. That's okay too. Then you have to be your best at that time. A little bit different process, but you can do that too. The next is really having a list of who you want to call. Know how long you're going to be calling, so you know what's reasonable, right? If I'm calling a half hour, maybe I want to reach out to 5 people. Now, I have a really strong conversion rate because I connect really well with people. You're going to see things change. It's a numbers game. So if you're not that skilled in the call, you're going to make more calls. So, you may be making 20 calls in an hour, right? I may make 5 calls in half an hour, because our desired metric may still be the same. I just have more mastery. Doesn't matter. You're still going to get the same results. So who cares that I may be more skilled? You're just going to do more of it, right?
And as you get better and better at it, it will get shorter and shorter, and
it will get shorter and shorter,
higher and higher.
Yeah, and you get more excited to do it, because when I get on a call, my expectation is I'm like, I can convert probably 60%. That's an incredibly high. Usually it's a 20%, 25% right. When you're doing it right. I can do 60% because I'm just really good at connecting with people.
Right.
And I understand that when I call someone, that may not be the person that I connect with. It may be someone they know. It may be, because my goal is when we get off the phone, they want to help me. They like me. They want to help me. They want me to call them again for some reason. It may be because they want to go out to eat with me. They want to get information about real estate. I really don't care why. I want us to have a relationship. So knowing that about ourselves is important.
So what do you say to the people that just can't get over, they have the information ready. They know what they're going to say. They spent weeks and weeks getting ready with their script work, and they have it memorized. But that fear is so strong in them that they can't actually pick up the phone and actually just dial. Okay.
So this is what I would suggest. And this is where you can help your agents.
Okay.
For agents like that, I would be in my office and they would be on their phone and you would call them, but you wouldn't say anything. They have to start the call. So you actually do the dialing. This sounds ridiculous, but it is the dialing. It's that fear. It's the first step that holds them back. They're not going to not answer if you tell them, hey, I'm going to call you. And they know you, right? And so let's remove the barriers to entry. Let's remove that level of risk, right? Because what's the risk? You're not going to like them. You know, they're going to sound whatever, maybe, but let's remove the risk of making the call so that maybe you have a couple agents you're working with where you're calling them and you're just going through a couple scenarios. Maybe you do three calls with each person and they're different, you know, and you tell, you know, or if your agents are all working on whether you're doing expireds or, you know, whatever targeted area you're, you know, trying to touch. Whatever market, but you call them and then be quiet and let them say hello. You know, it sounds ridiculous, but our brains, the way our brains work are complicated. And my perspective is I don't need to change how my brain works, but I have to do workarounds. Eventually that just falls away because now the person has confidence in the conversation. Your conversation may be very brief at first, because I know some agents who are really afraid. They've never done anything like this before, but you know they're going to really hit it out of the park because they're knowledgeable.
Right.
People need their help. So you maybe just do something brief where they introduce themselves to you, ask a question, and wrap up the call and hang up. And you may want to do that same call 3 or 4 times to the point where it's kind of ridiculous. They're like, yeah, I got it. Larry, I got it. It's like, good. Okay, good. And then use one script. Let them say it. Do it over and over. Now, this sounds labor intensive, but you could spend 30 minutes with one of your agents and it could change everything for them. And if they get tripped up, they know that they can reach out to you and say, don't know what happened. I've kind of fallen off the horse. Can you warm me up again? Can you help me get back where I need to be? It's like coaching an athlete. Right. Yeah.
It's exactly that. It's exactly the same as coaching an athlete. It's just a different sport, right?
It's a different sport.
That's all it really is. And I love that example because I say it all the time. You know, Michael Phelps jumped in the pool and he wasn't Michael Phelps.
No, he wasn't.
That's not what happened.
Yeah. It is not what happened. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, right? And I didn't leave my parents' home at 18 and move to Spain. You know, that didn't happen either.
So I know that there are these steps and that when you look at overcoming the overwhelming feeling of your life, right?
Yes.
We're talking about it on a very small scale of just in one instance of a business, right?
Right.
And it's the one that we love so much. It's the real estate business, right? And
yes,
I try to explain to people all the time, right? We're in this business, and I love the way you put it when you said, you know, this is a business of relationships and creating different relationships and having that good feeling when you have those relationships, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we all signed up for, right? This is something where we have to meet people every single day. People that we don't know, we have to work with them. We have to get along with them. Whether or not we like them or not, we still have to do those things, right? So my question, I guess, to you would be, so now we have it narrowed down to, okay, when we're making the initial call, right, we have to take steps to prepare ourselves to make that call.
Correct.
Once we pick up the phone, guess what's going to happen? The first call you're going to make, it's going to be that person that that hates you, never wants to speak to you again, yells at you, and then hangs up, right?
Congratulations.
That reaffirms all those feelings that you had of why you don't want to make that call, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
If your objective is to influence that person in any way, yeah, maybe. If your objective is to practice your skill set, you don't care what the response is. My winning today, if I'm doing this for the first time, will be making 10 phone calls. I really don't give a crap what that person says, because that's not my thing, right? I'm working with you, I'm within a team, I'm whatever. And look, there comes a point when you're working with anyone, you're part of a tribe of people, you are who you hang out with. I walk into your office, I'm like, these are successful people. I'm going to put my faith in Larry. He's done this. He cares about me. He's going to be there to support me. So the steps are going to be incremental. I don't need to worry about how people respond to me initially. If I don't know how to dial a phone, I don't care about stuff that doesn't even matter yet. And I think taking that progression is really important. So what people say back to you initially, not important. You don't care. Focus on yourself. Did I deliver the message? Did I answer in a polite way? Did I do these things? Somebody can say whatever, you can hang up and be like, winning, one call done.
Right.
Because you set the parameters of what success is for you.
That's a great point. So we have this preconceived notion of what success is, right?
Yes.
And we implement it throughout our lives in many, many different aspects, right?
Right. Yes.
For somebody like you and I, right, that are very, very outgoing.
Yes.
The definition of success is very different for us, right? Because the way we process and think about things. But for somebody that's newer, let's use the example of somebody that's new, right? That doesn't have as much experience and doesn't understand that they set the parameters of what success is. How do you get them to buy into that? Because that's what it is, right? They have to buy into that principle.
So here, Larry, ignorance is bliss. Okay, I want to go with that. This is how I go through life. Most things I want to do, I have no idea how to do them. Most things. When I see something cool, I'm like, I want to go surfing. I know a thing about surfing. I didn't have a surfboard. I just knew I wanted to go, right? So the next thing, my strategy is I find someone who knows how to surf. And then I let them tell me everything, because my vision is I'm going to surf. Now, I do make it my own. I figure it out. But first time around, all I have to do is find good talent and then copy it. That doesn't mean I do it forever the way they do it, but that removes a lot of fear from me, because I immediately see a pathway to success, and success based on doing the activity, right? If somebody's really good at prospecting, they may be really shitty in a lot of things. Their life, it may not be a person I like, but the one thing I know about them is this particular thing they do really well. I can isolate that, I can watch that, and I can learn from it and then make it my own. So I really spend a lot of time breaking things down and looking for people I consider successful that are based on a vision I have for myself. The skill sets, those come. I don't know what I don't know. That's why I can do all the things I can do. If you knew something, now I would argue that your newest agents, the agents I've coached from 0 to 100 fastest are new agents, okay? Because they don't have any hangups, and they believe
bad habits.
They believe me. I just tell them, hey, all you got to do is this, and I give them a little piece. Oh, I can do that. Surfboard. Back to the surfing thing. All you got to do is the surfboard's on the sand. You have to lie on the surfboard. Step one. Can you lie on the surfboard? look, if I can get the wetsuit on, I can do just about anything because that's the challenging part. But I can lie on the surfboard, and it's breaking it into those pieces, right? But finding people you feel successful, that you feel are successful, and then letting go.
Right.
And observing, waiting for the win. Don't wait for, you're not going to see something go wrong when absolutely everyone around you is doing this. Why are you the exception? Like, we're not that special, to be honest.
Right,
we're not going to be these. Yeah. I'm just like, if we believe everyone can do it, there's a reason why everyone knows how to tie their shoes. There's an expectation that we all learn how to tie our shoes. So we just do it. So our mind works that way. I don't know if that helps.
It does. I heard a quote one day, and it kind of feeds into exactly what you're saying, right? I don't remember who said it, but you might actually have heard it too. They go, without failing, there is no winning.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So you have to fail at something to understand what winning really is, right?
Right. It's a contrast. Yes.
So that when I teach specifically the cold calling, right? When I teach,
yeah,
because I do teach this, right?
Oh, let's not call that anymore. No more cold calling. You got to come up with a new name. That's a problem.
Okay, that's
hot calling, like a hot sheet. Hot calling.
When I teach people how to meet people over the phone, right?
Thank you. Yes. Good job.
I teach people how to meet people over the phone, we go through a lot of preparation before somebody actually starts to dial. But at some point, you just have to dial the phone. That's just it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have noticed that it's either going to reaffirm your fear, right? Or you're going to say, it hasn't been that bad. It's not that bad. And you're going to continue to do it, right? So let's focus a little bit more on the reaffirming the fear, right? And I've worked with a couple of people that when they started, they were fearful. When they made calls, it actually just got worse, right?
Why do you think that is?
I'll be honest with you. I think it's more just the affirmation that what they thought in their mind was true, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And the one thing that I always touch on, I say to them, is anything that happened going to change your life right now?
Yeah.
Did saying that no, did hearing that no change who you are? Did it hurt you? And one person actually told me,
yes,
I just don't like the rejection.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing, and this is why the coaching I do is really powerful, because these aren't things particular to a phone call. If a person has this issue in your building relationship calls, they're going to have that issue across the board. I do think visioning, and this is another strategy, vision every call. If you vision that someone's going to be rude to you, you better believe someone's going to be rude to you.
Right.
It's almost a foregone conclusion. You have that kind of control. You can also vision success, right? And you have to know what that feels like. When you're so tied to the vision of success, you're ready for it. Sometimes people can't allow their own success. These thoughts get in their way of what comes really easy. I mean, I've seen people in a room where they're all calling, a lot of people in a room. And if you're sitting there and someone on this side and someone on this side, they're just like making appointments and calling people and whatever, and you're not, that's an inside job. The whole world has not conspired against you.
Right.
But that's good news. I mean, it's good news because it shows that, wow, we really are in control, because the world doesn't look at luck that way. They don't pick you out. The way things go applies to everyone. So I think visioning that and minimizing it, we can build something up in our mind so big. So I would suggest too, if you're new to calling, you might want to do it for 15 minutes. You may want to have 3 calls, and you may want to build that up over a couple of days where you focus on the activity, not the result of the activity. So to define success is, I'm going to make 3 calls within 15 minutes.
That's a very interesting perspective of it, right? Because now you're taking it into smaller bites.
Yes.
So it's not chipping away at the
Right.
fear of rejection, right?
Right.
It's
Yes.
not making it bigger.
Right.
Words, right?
We're not making it about rejection at all. We're not even making it about fear. We're just saying, you know, I'm going to do these. I'm going to make 3 calls today. That's it. There's nothing about what's going to happen from those 3 calls, good or bad. We don't even think about it. We only think about the activity, so
Right.
that it becomes like learning to drive a car. You don't get into the car and the only thing you think about is the fact that I could get hit by another car. I mean, when you're a kid, you just like, ignorance is bliss. All you're trying to do is keep your parents off your back so that you can like actually like push the accelerator yourself without them like grabbing the wheel and,
Right,
and doing whatever.
But I love what you said. It's not about the call. It's not about the result of the call. That's not what defines success.
Mm-hmm.
It's about
Right.
actually making the call. That's
Yes.
what's making you successful.
Yes.
And the rest will come later on.
The rest will come without you even planning for it. Because
Right.
guess
Right.
what? In those 3 calls,
that.
you're probably going to get one and you're going to be so surprised. They'll be like,
Right.
Larry, this crazy thing happened. This person, they wanted to have an appointment with me. And
Right.
you're like, wow, right? But yes, bring it down to the ridiculous, to the just say, focus on the activity, not the result of the activity.
Yeah. So all the time that you've known me, you know that I'm really, really big into procedures, right? And,
yes.
and how things are structured, right?
Yes.
So we've been talking very much about this on a very small scale. But how can somebody apply this to everything in their life? Is there something that you can give us and share with us that they can apply this overall? How do we go from me sitting here to me sitting in Spain, you know, overcoming all the overwhelming feelings it comes with?
Yeah, because believe me, I had my moments. It didn't happen like magic, and you were privy to some of that. You were there and you supported me during a time. I had a lot of things that I needed to do before I got to Spain. Having fundamental practices helps us everywhere, because our professional life isn't our whole life, but our life includes our professional life, our family life, all of it. Overwhelm is a feeling. There are strategies to overcome it. I have prepared an ebook, which I would love for you to share with your listeners.
Absolutely.
And it's a bigger approach, but it absolutely applies to business, because feeling good allows you to show up your best. And when you show up your best, you perform at your best level. Sounds very basic. The strategies that I'll share in that ebook, you can, no problem. You can start anywhere, right? If something's more appealing to you, there's a bit of a menu that you can build on. So some of it's mindset, but we talk about physical health. We talk about spiritual health. It is about feeling good. So we just operate at our highest level. So in this ebook, I have broken it down to give you a menu of options of things to try, to how to go about it. It's not a long ebook. It actually has like some photographs, and it's broken down in a way on purpose to make it feel easy, because it is. We've been conditioned today to think if it's not hard, it's not effective. And what I know is that's not true. So here are some proven methods that I've used personally, that I've used with hundreds of people that I've worked with, very high level salespeople, leadership. We're all people. That's the connection. So wherever we begin, and I don't know if you have that ebook pulled up. I don't have it pulled up.
I do.
Okay, so maybe you want to just go over some topics that are on there and read them, so that people get an idea. It's
something that I did read, and I do push out, and I do have here with me. It's frustration free, and I'm going to link it in the link below on where you can get it and how you can get it. It's a great read. It doesn't take very long, but it's very enlightening to what you need to do, the steps that you need to take. And some of these things, you think that they would be so simple, right? That
Yeah.
we would know that that's what we should do, right?
Yeah.
But I like what you said in that example, right? When you were surfing and you said, I would find somebody that was successful at it and copy it, right?
Yes.
But that is, if you look at it on a totality scale, right? That is the one thing that so many people overlook, right? They
Yes.
say, I want to be like that person. Well, are you doing everything that person does?
Right.
Are you following the blueprint that they're setting for you? Because if
Right.
you do exactly what I say, you're going to be exactly like how I am, right? You're going to get the same results because you're doing the exact same thing.
Right. Because it's activity driven.
But once you start changing the activity, the results are then going to change, right?
Yeah.
And that's a basic fundamental principle that so many people overlook.
Yeah.
And you know, you point that out in your book about, you know, finding somebody that and having a community around you that that supports you and can help guide you. You know, it's funny because you and I, we have a relationship outside of this. You talked about it a little bit with you know, me supporting you when you were moving to Spain, but it has worked the other way around as well. You know, Jeneen is very accomplished, right? She's an attorney. She's a successful real estate agent. She has many accolades that I can just keep going on and on about. But that support and that knowledge has helped me develop as an individual as well. So I definitely recommend that everybody, you know, pick up the book, read it, and really understand what are the principles behind overcoming that overwhelming feeling. Jeneen, I want to thank you for your time. I know that you have a lot of things to do today, and I don't want to keep you past where we need to go. If you could, are you on social media? How can people get a hold of you?
Yes, I am on social media. So I'm on Facebook at Jeneen. I have to look. I don't know if it's Jeneen Masih. Oh, this is a bad thing. Why don't we put it all in the links?
I'll put it in the link below.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm not difficult to find for sure.
So I'll definitely put the link of how to contact Jeneen if you want to keep exploring these conversations. Jeneen, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciated it. Everybody,
I enjoyed
have a good day. And remember, nothing is so strong that you can't overcome it, especially in these times.
Especially.